All right, what is going on, Banter fan? Welcome into today's edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and today we are going to take a brief look at the crypto gaming markets. And as we know, Bitcoin and the entirety of the market has taken quite a bit of a dip. We're going to take a look at some projects that a couple months ago, if you told me we could be able to get involved with some projects at these prices, I would call you absolutely crazy. So when you're looking at the value standpoint of things, I'll give you a few projects that I think are at a value level as far as relative price goes and where the market cap is. We'll take a look at the continuous institutional interest in the space, in the crypto gaming and metaverse space. I also want to take a look at some trends, and these are user trends in games that are really upticking and going against the market trend. We have a couple charts out there with a couple of games with user bases increasing inside the economy. But not only that, the price is going against the current market trend. And I will show you what I am talking about. And then we have a very, very special guest in this edition of In the Game. Roy Liu, the co-founder of Syn City, will join me on the back half of the show. You do not want to miss this edition. Without further ado, let's get in the game.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a percent. If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a play. If you get lost, show you the way.
All right, so let's dig into it. And like I mentioned, the market's really taken a hit. There's no secret about it. We have Bitcoin back down to 35. And you just look at the weekly on a lot of the blue chips, right, guys? So you're taking a look at these blue chips that are down 20 to 30 to 40%. But really on my watch list, I have mostly crypto games. And you have a couple of coins like the Vigorus token inside the Pegaxy economy, which we'll talk about in this edition. But you filter to the most losses. And a lot of these are gaming tokens, Monkey Ball, KRL, Fate and Arena, DeFi Kingdoms, Phantasma. A lot of these are gaming projects, guys. So you have to be careful. Obviously there's a lot of dips during these times on these coins. They're lower market cap, they're higher risk. But this really creates opportunity because if you could have told me a couple weeks ago that I'd be able to stack up on Ultra, the steam of crypto gaming, at 86 cents, I'd probably call you crazy, right? I mean, Phantasma, we just saw Phantasma at $3.40 just a couple weeks ago, once again. Now we're sitting at $1.36, a full $2 retrace, a 66% retrace on this coin, which in my opinion is absolute value, especially when the market cap is the exact same as the fully diluted. Like if you would have told me Vulcan Forge, the gaming studio building 10 titles under their name, would be at $7.46. So take a step back from everything and just take a look at where the market is now. We've really kind of just retraced to the market was really overheated, and we've retraced the levels that I think if you're looking to DCA into quality projects, and we had Gala Games up to 70 cents. Gala Games is now 17 cents. You're looking at relative value here where Bitcoin is, where the entirety of the market is. This is the time to DCA into quality projects, guys. I'm not really going to talk too much about that, but if there's been projects out there you've been waiting to get in on, this is the time. And like I said, the continuous institutional interest in the space makes me continuously bullish for the growth of crypto gaming and metaverse. So obviously last week we had Microsoft buying up Activision for $70 billion. Not only that, we have Google leading a $20 million investment in Web3 game publishers. We have Samsung putting NFTs in their smart TVs. We also have Netflix literally talking about NFTs. And I mean, if they come out with some sort of Netflix NFT in their system, just like Samsung and their smart TVs, that could be big for the movement and pushing these things forward. And we're not just talking about big corporations. We are talking about the big studios. EA calls NFT and blockchain games the future of our industry. And we've already seen Ubisoft proudly step out in front and say, we're going to put NFTs into a Ghost Recon game. And they got a ton of backlash. And you know what? They stood their ground and they kept that out there. And I think that's super bullish for the space, that not only corporations are leading the charge, but we do have a couple big gaming studios, and not to mention the creators of Final Fantasy as well, Square Enix. Their CEO is super bullish on crypto games, guys. So in my opinion, looking at the market where it is, with the things to come, right? Education could flood the metaverse. Amazon could flood the metaverse. Shopping in the metaverse is going to be huge. That type of stuff has real life implications and real life utility inside the metaverse and inside of crypto games for ownership of digital assets, right? You play a game for 5 years, eventually you have to move on to the next game. And you don't want to just have to put your assets away. You can have a marketplace to trade them in Web3 gaming, which makes everything worthwhile for the player. It gives players back that ownership. And when everything was down in May and Axie's rise began, it's because the gamers and the economy didn't leave, right? It actually became an uptick, and we'll show that in just a second. More people are going to flood to play to earn in bear markets because it's the lowest risk way to stack up on tokens while the market is down. This is literally going to be a hedge against the bear market, and I have no doubt about that, and I firmly believe that. So gamers are there to play the games, guys, period. Users will triumph everything because the in-game economy is everything. So Axie Infinity's in-game volume was only rising, right? The marketplace transactions, the player base, everything was growing. So games with active users, in my opinion, will be the first to bounce in this market. And right now, that's been Pegaxy. The last 30 days in the market, guys, has been absolutely brutal, right? Look at this. Pegaxy, their token is up 47% this week. And there's no coincidence. If you trace this orange line here, that's their user base, right? So right now, they are going against the biggest dump since May 2021, and their user base is driving that, right? Literally, there's new users every single day. So you take a look at Axie's rise, right? This right here is Axie's chart, and I'll actually move on. You can check this on cryptobanter.com. We did a piece on this because this is super valuable. So you take a look, the chart here on the orange line literally traces the Axie chart to near perfection, and I'll even zoom in a bit to make this a little larger. So as you see, Axie's chart starts trending up the exact same way that their user chart does, and the only deviation is the recent market dip, where actually users are going back up at the beginning of 2022, where at the beginning of 22 on the chart, it's just going down with the rest of the market. This is a good trend, guys, to keep in mind. Their player base is going back up, and the initial climb almost followed the user base to a T. So what's next, right? Well, you take a look at this chart with Pegaxy, and you take a look at their user stats. 40,000 users this month, which doesn't sound a lot, but it's growing every day. This is a $13 million market cap or so, 50 million in volume on their marketplace in the last 30 days, and their user base is simply climbing. That shows a ton of strength, in my opinion. So why is this game so successful in game? Why are people flooding to this game? Well, it is probably the best built-in scholarship system that there is. So these are all the active guilds within the economy. It doesn't matter if I zoom in or not. There are literally hundreds of active guilds, and you have to have 50 or more horses with active scholars running under your guild. So this is a huge scholarship economy. And right now, there are more players looking for horses to race in scholarship systems than there are horses. So the demand is super, super healthy in this game. And I think right now, this is the best play to earn opportunity that is active right now. And why do I say that, right? I'll give you a real life example, and I'll also walk you through later this week how to put together a stable of horses. I'll just show you my dashboard. I don't do this much, but this is my VIS earned this week. I've earned 21,000 VIS this week, and I've recently scaled up my horses to 21 horses. So I'm earning about 1,000 VIS per horse per week. At the VIS price right now, that is about $2,100 every single week. I'm making between $8,000 and $10,000 per month based on the VIS price, which also is going against the trend. So for 21 horses, I'm making about $2,000 a week. And look at the in-game coin. The in-game coin, you look at SLP for Axie, you look at THC for Thetan Arena, they absolutely tank. But this economy, you can absolutely play passively, right? So you go down, I have 21 total horses. I don't race any of them, but I give scholars a 30% share of the profits of everything that I make. So all of my players are getting 30% within the economy, and I'm taking 70% for 21 horses. And I still plan to scale this up, guys. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because I think that this is competing with the economy of an Axie Infinity. And you take a look at the Pegaxy coin. I mean, the market cap is very, very low. I don't know why it's not showing there. It has been showing. The market cap's under $20 million. The fully diluted is around 400 million. But in my opinion, this right here is the best way to get involved passively in play to earn. And I think the economy took everything from Axie's economy, scholarships, the breeding system, basically the two token economics, everything that they did, they took it and they kind of revamped it with the in-game rental system. So you don't even have to seek out players to use your assets. You can just put them on the rental marketplace. So we'll talk about this more, how to get involved in this economy, how to rent out your horses. But I think this is too much to ignore. And you can read all about it here on cryptobanter.com. And we come out with these articles a little bit before the show. So if you kind of want to have a little back end knowledge on what we might be talking about that day, this is the way to get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Now, let's get into the bulk of the show. And I'm super, super excited, guys, because the Copper launch auction does end today for Syn City. And I am joined by no other than Roy Liu himself, the co-founder of Syn City today. And Roy, how are you today?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How is the auction and the IGO going? I'm sure it's been hectic on your side.
Yeah, it's just I think we did everything we can to be well prepared for the auction because it's our first time to launch with the Copper, and the super and I very much appreciate the support from the community and the Copper team. I think they did a fantastic job. I think during the weekend, whatever happened, I think we're the only auction live, but somehow Copper server got crashed.
Yeah.
So that, but on the other hand, I'm not sure it's us, but I think it's super. Really appreciate that the community took us what it is today, even in the bear market.
Yeah, and I will say one thing, a lot of projects don't do the Copper launch auction, and the fact that y'all did the traditional IGO, you also obviously had your seed in privates, but then you also allowed the public to get a little bit of a head start, right, with the auctions before the listing. So I love that not only are y'all building a solid community, and we'll talk about that at the back end, I believe, but not only are y'all building an amazing community, but y'all really layered it out to where each level of investors might have a little opportunity to get in early.
Yeah, I think that's what I like at the Copper, being a fair launch platform and get everybody to participate. And that's an amazing idea. I think that more and more projects, the fact that a lot of GameFi projects coming into Copper, I think is a really good trend.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. And I'll kind of just scroll over the team here and their past experience. But tell the audience who might not know your background, kind of where you came from in the blockchain, and then also your experience in gaming and what led you to creating Syn City.
Yeah, sure. So I spent my last couple of years, like 3-4 years, with a project called Tron, where I was heading everything business marketing. I started my career prior to that about over 13 years in gaming. As an early developer in PopCap games, making games like Plants vs. Zombies and Bejeweled. And that got me into the industry. I left around 2011 after the EA acquisition for PopCap for $4.3 billion. And did a bunch of startups. One of that is called Chartboost, which is also acquired by Zynga earlier in 2021, which is a mobile advertising platform. I've been in the game space for a while, and later on, after my startup's life, I started serving executive roles on several public traded game companies across East and Asia, across East and West. That gives me exposure to the publishing, M&A, R&D, and all those sort. So being in the street a lot, and actually I dipped into crypto a bit in 2013, where I got to know I got introduced by venture capital to Brian Armstrong to discover what can we use BTC in gaming. So that was super interesting for me to start. But the vision of blockchain gaming, that was in 2013. Yeah, that's amazing because it's so early. And I basically I talked to Brian in his face in I think in the Creamery in the 4th and King in San Francisco, and told him look, BTC we're never gonna make it. It's too volatile, too slow. Did you know there's a company in China called Tencent? They have a QQ coin. And but he laughed, and he gave me my very first Bitcoin. So I think I'm super appreciative at it. At the time, it's about $20, right? That got me to get it started, and look into the Bitcoin stuff until until the ICO craze. But I was not ready to do that anytime, which I chose to join the project like Tron. Given that I think the mass market approach, which is something I can add value, where I was predominantly running business development and some of the deal of like business relations, like implementing Samsung, implementing all the Tron tokens to Samsung, as well as some other deals and M&A deals as well. And to do the marketing, as you can see, invited Kobe Bryant to the DevCon, Warren Buffett stuff. Of course, I mean, Justin Sun is paying the money, but yeah. So but again, it was a crazy ride through up and downs. But super appreciate that kind of experience, which led me to the final, to the 2021, the metaverse kick off after the DeFi becoming mature and NFT becoming the mainstream. I think this is perfect. Like, to me, metaverse, i.e., in my mind, GameFi is the thing for several reasons. GameFi means game cash flow plus DeFi. It's just super important to realize that on that end. Secondly, it's the only business model that most people can, most retail investor, if not like institutional investor, can understand, because their actual business model to refer to, if you put a token overlaid to trade, so that people can see, understand. Oh, you're talking about revenue. Otherwise, how do you define your revenue? Yada yada. Right now, you have user flow, you have user base, like exactly what you put on the charts. It's super precise. You can see the charts, you can see all the things. That's super good.
Yeah, and let's just talk about the game now. So when did Syn City itself materialize in your mind and in development? So when did the idea come together? And just tell us a little bit about the gameplay pillars. So obviously we have player versus player, we have player versus environment. Just tell us a little bit about what we're seeing on the screen here. It looks, in my opinion, I've kind of, in my mind, being a gamer most of my life, it looks like a Grand Theft Auto mixed with a Saints Row, which makes me really just so interested.
It's the game is well developed. As you see, this is the game footage, not like CGI made or whatever. It's I think that the whole idea was coming from like when I look into the metaverse opportunity, what's the actual should we focus on the game mechanics versus should we focus on a game genre? And that's a very important question for me, because it's everything is based on the consensus in crypto world. To me, consensus is more important than mechanics. Mechanics can get you the pump or dump or whatever in the short term, but fundamentally, people are here because of consensus. And being in the game industry for a while, I understand that game mechanics will die out. This is the nature of the game. You'd be playing Angry Bird. When 10 years ago, but nobody plays Angry Bird anymore. Why? Because people get bored. People move on.
It's why Call of Duty has to come out with a new game every single year to keep.
They have to. Exactly. Now, consider if you do not engage with new mechanics, and let's say like Angry Bird today, it's only 500 mil market cap. That's peanuts compared to any of the DeFi or metaverse projects, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that if you do not keep on creating new content, the token price will tank as well. Simply that. Which is why we started focusing on that consensus. Of course, mechanics is important. Glad you mentioned that to give the GTA flavor. We tried to dumb it down the mechanics at the get-go. Again, what you see is just the initial gameplay. Because end of the day, with that consensus, when all these assets on top, like these AAA quality these characters, this mechanic is just one mechanic to start. Rather, the same mechanic assets can be utilized for another PUBG game model, can be utilized for another Call of Duty game model, can be used like a city exploring, like a GTA model. There's a lot of possibilities, but we need to start with one, which chose current game mechanics, which is something derived from original game called Dota Legend. Later on, pivot to be EA Mobile's Star Wars Galaxy Hero. What it means is basically it's a real-time card battler. So instead of you have to jump back and forth like in a Gen 1 Axie Infinity style, which is Japanese RPG style, you deal with your mechanics real time. So if you go to the gameplay, this screen, please. So you can see you just drag and drop your ability when during the countdown to 0, drag and drop your ability to your target. Simply that. So that gives you time gives you the real time engagement because you have the agency over your character. Yet you don't have to like really engage like a Call of Duty user, like shooting muscles to do this or that. You still can chill, focus on the character growth, and yada yada. So
Yeah.
I think and also you mentioned about PvP PvE part. I mean, that's very important, and PvE PvP and also other mechanics, which is something we want to introduce as a multiple revenue streams for.
I think I have it here. Yeah, the economy.
Yes.
So if you want this up here, so we have like the battles. So you have PvE, PvP, the daily events, the unique events, and then the syndicate events. So if you want to just dig into how the economy works a little bit, I think that's exactly where you were kind of headed to. So
yeah, totally. So that's I think this is the core loop, right? And whatever the game stays as the mechanics, that's essentially the core loop. The focus on the area asset for this generation of, if not the future generation of the GameFi players. The key focus is less on the game immersive experience, but more on the asset. I mean, it's the same, but because I mean, there are a lot of good console games, PC games out there. You can totally enjoy an experience elsewhere. The reason it took effort to install Web3 wallet is for the asset period. And now you want to use this grinding process to get your asset getting more appreciation. That's the goal. Now, and what you need to do is basically increase appreciation in multiple angles, right? That's why we introduced this loop, but on top of that, we introduced different play to earn revenue streams. So that play to earn, a lot of people talk about that as like Axie style, which I think is fantastic, set up a role model for people how to do
trend,
it.
Right.
Exactly. But in reality, that trend is targeting a lot of player. Every play to earn, you have earning target, right? And starting off, people say it's a novel idea to be able to earn, given the price on the market, about $300 a month. So you can use that to acquire a lot of users coming to the funnel. With $300, that's a lot. From 0 to 300 is a lot. However, I think given the market, macro market condition, but also given the fact that going forward to acquire more user, I find that model would be very hard to acquire more user in the West, right? To make people like take it seriously. I think I think that model has some bottleneck. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of creative minds behind it to extend it further, but I think that we're creating a model to help on that. Number one, you can grind as is, right, as a grinder. Number two, you can participate in the economy as a capitalist, meaning the grind, meaning you don't have to like grind and earn and dump on the market so as to benefit from that. Rather, you can reinvest asset earned through the process, right? And the reinvest into these game economy. I think that is the key differentiator in the space, so that that gives you the ability to generate the yield aspect of it. Yield meaning that that gets into the DeFi rather. So I think that's just where we take from 300 earning per month to 3,000, if not more, per month.
Right, and I think that games that do it right are gonna be able to be fun enough, and like yours is clearly looking like it's going to be a genuinely fun game. So I think that's the hurdle with some of these play to earns now. They're very click a button, things happen on the screen, you wait a second, and then you collect whatever prize if you win. But your game, it looks absolutely interactive, super fun. You can do so many things with the businesses and your land and the syndicate economy. But what I love here is y'all are building in ways to keep the token in the economy. So like you mentioned, when players earn sometimes in these games, they just go dump them on the open market. But like you're staking your SYNR tokens, for example, to generate power to delegate to the syndicate leader. And the more you get involved in that aspect, the more governance you have within the DAO of the syndicate. So could you explain like why you think these, and I think they are too, but where did these tokenomics come from? So a lot of these projects do 2 token economies, and you have the power token, but that's seeming to flow right back into the economy of the game.
Right. If you can go to the Mafia As A DAO, that's the DAO system, I think, on the column. So I think that is the key differentiator we have here, where we really focus on building the DAO where the consensus and also the inside economy, because there are a lot of DAO systems, but majority of people just or nay or don't care. Rather, in the game fight, we think we can we can line up the interest through the incentives, where you can stake your token, right? Governance token SYNR, and you have a SYNR power that gets you to dedicate to vote like any DPoS. Now, you can vote to any leaders. There are a lot of leaders in the space, but only top 7 leaders with most power can be elected to the high table, the governance committee of the earning pool. That's tremendous amount of power. See, I have $100,000 worth of like reward to distribute, right? Who should I distribute? Where do I distribute? That's a lot of power because that decides people's livelihood, right? Yeah. And then, but being part of the syndicate, because folks voted me up to manage that pool. Of course, I'm gonna return the favor, like in the real life government work,
and it's real life mafia aspects too. The bosses decide where it goes. How things flow.
Exactly. So I returned, as a leader, I returned the perks to my fellow people because they voted for me. And while giving the perks to people, it's also fair for me to collect tax from them. So the economy would then go, the people pay tax to the syndicate in exchange for the perks, and syndicate then pay tax to the DAO, to the platform, for being part of the whole game, like taxation system. Like consider syndicate is every state government, and the DAO is the federal government. And then the taxation from the DAO goes back to the community partially as a UBI, and part of that goes to the continued development of that. So that's the core economy. Then a lot of things to be done along the path. For example, like in terms of the business building perspective, we're introducing and we're targeting the initial modules for PvP is a bank element where basically you deposit your asset into the bank to generate the yield. Now we cannot touch your principals for sure in the blockchain, but there's something we can do with their yield, i.e. that if you got rated, percentage of the yield, you can take a yield. So that's now, of course, like the people say, people are taking my yield, it's not fair. Well, you can just beef up your defense team, your defense AI of these like beefed up guys. Yeah, just to invest in these guys so it can protect, or hire someone on the street. There are these guilds and these mercenary business who are coming in, so hire them to protect it as in real life. So but only whoever will stand up to be the most powerful like guardians of the bank, given security, then you can attract all these LP money, right, coming to stake for the yield.
It's like doing a GTA heist,
exactly. And then you can basically like rate for real. And that is the kind of a model we go forward, because it will be like banks for the asset perspective. But going forward, you mentioned, is it going to have other currencies? Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, there will be going to be other, let's say on the channel, I would just say like a Vegetations coming up. People can farm.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. For business.
Yeah, for business. And there'll be other like powder-ish things for people to farm, to generate, right? These are the things for you to generate. And of course, you can raid, but because these assets can be then confused together to generate other buff elements for you to give you like a health boost and an attack boost and so on and so forth. You can see a lot of synthetics of these assets be combined together as actual, whether it's 721 or 1155, I don't know. We'll figure out what's the best protocol to use, but there's a lot of elements in that.
Definitely. And when does the staking go live for those who are looking out for that?
So we should be putting it out today. We should be ready in 2 days, the latest. But awesome. We're also getting a lot of inputs from our good friend Illuvium on how they're going to do their V2. So we're just taking the advice to see how we can, if there's enough time to add into.
So y'all are trying to model it after Illuvium staking model as well?
Well, initially, yes, but down the road,
I think that's a brilliant. No, that's a good thing. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And then let's just talk about the token a little bit. So the Copper launch token's going live. The IGO already happened. And so right now, let's just pull up the tokenomics. So the SYNR token, it looks like it's pretty healthy tokenomics, in my opinion. Very well distributed as far as the supply goes. And like we were just looking at the utility. So you have a really healthy way of keeping it in the economy. What would you say inside the game? So what is, when you're leveling up your businesses and stuff, so SYNR is going to be used to buy stuff within the marketplace. So correct me if I'm wrong, the NFTs now, right, they're on the Binance NFT market and they're on OpenSea for the Genesis and the blueprints. In the game, you're going to have your own in-game marketplace circulating those assets, correct?
That's correct. And also, this glad you mentioned there's finance version, there's OpenSea version. So all these core governance tokens come from the ERC. Like we like to be the embracing the ERC community, and that's the core drive force of the whole blockchain innovation.
Yep.
That said, I mean there are definitely like reality issues, like in realistic operational purposes, you got to be on these other chains to make it like more operable and more user friendly. So the way our setup is, the core ERC would be on our governance pool of that tokens, but you can then just pair that, but then you can just mirror all these tokens to the designated chain, say BSC, Solana, or Polygon, so that you can have a faster network. You can basically have synthetics on these chains, and we call them all side chains if we can for this purposes, so that we. I'm not sure that's really. I didn't even see that.
Oh, I was just pulling up both collections. I was pulling up the Genesis and the blueprints.
Yeah. So the point of sorry, I thought that's obviously my mistake. But my point is, like, you can mirror the tokens onto these sidechains, so you can build your own Binance version of a syndicate. It'd be the king of Binance. It'd be the king of Solana.
The cross chain mafia wars. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Exactly. So you don't have to everybody fighting for the gas fee slowness on ERC. Rather, you can just build your empire on BSC and build your empire on Solana, and one day to fight with each other because you just have assets staked, but you can mirror to each other. So
that is awesome. Like that's the coolest feature I think. Like if this gets pulled off correctly. Not a lot of every game's going, that one chain. There's so many games building on Solana and building on Polygon and stuff like that. If y'all pull this off to where it's super interoperable between these different blockchains, your in-game transaction volume's not only going to skyrocket,
exactly,
but your user bases who may only want to operate on certain chains for whatever reason, because there's some people are that way. You're providing that aspect for a top tier blockchain game at their fingertips.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I love it. I love it. So the auction ends here in a few hours. And then when will this go live for trading?
TG should be a couple of hours after we wrap up the copper. I need to talk to the team we announced later today. I just make sure everybody is still sober. I understand that nobody had a good night's sleep for the last couple of days, if not weeks. Yeah, so I want to make sure when we click the button to make sure everything's live for people to do, we're doing the proper way and protect way, and they'll be definitely having people sitting up in the middle of the night to support. So that's my major concern. So yeah.
And then one last question, because I know people are curious. So looking at the roadmap, after the IDO and all that good stuff, game module V1 was slated for late January. Of course, things got delayed with the IDO. So in my mind, things are pushed back even a little bit. There's cushion there. Right. Where would you estimate? Is it still Q1? I'm not going to push you for anything. Is it still Q1 or are we looking at Q2?
So Q1, we definitely release something. As a matter of fact, we plan to release right after IG Copper, a teaser play. So I still just to regroup the team to get ready to support when the release is out. Probably we do distribute for SYN Pass users first, and test it out. And SYN Pass is our VIPs, right? And later, I think every quarter we're gonna release a module. That's the goal for the team. And awesome. It's disruptive to the existing, like the team has been in the AAA for years, right? It's disruptive to see how the crypto GameFi releases in a modular basis. And we will release certain modules every quarter for people to play, if not faster pace for the crowds to play around and test it. And we definitely want to hit every major milestones like every quarter, because like end of March, that'll be GDC, if it's still happening physically. End of early June, that'll be E3. And I hope by that time, when it's summertime, the COVID should be cooled down a little bit. And there would be China Joy. I'm not sure we'd be able to travel there, but also there'd be other like GameStar and Gamescom. So we try to be there for every major milestones and make sure like this is the very first decentralized GTA, so to speak, right? Yeah. And we want to continue that way and recruit more talents. I mean, it's we definitely been challenged on the bandwidth. and I know we are rushing to really get the best experience economy possible for our community.
Yeah, no, and good stuff takes time. So I like that y'all have it on your roadmap, that it's going to be built out in phases. And just hearing you speak, it makes me even more bullish and ambitious about the project. Like the vision that y'all have for it's amazing. And I love what you added there at the end about bringing more talent on, because like you look at a GTA 5 and Web 2, that game's been around for how many years, and people, I could probably still pull up Twitch and there's hundreds of thousands of people watching Grand Theft Auto on Twitch right now. So, you know, if you continuously bring those updates in, so if the bank, you know, your bank heist situation, you could eventually bring more stuff in like that, different types of heist, new types of businesses. So there's a lot of stuff that y'all could do down the line. I absolutely love it. So tell the community how they can get involved in y'all's awesome community, because Syn City, I mean, y'all's Discord is like 200K strong. I've literally never seen anything like it. And I know it's organic because I got in there really early, like that first week. After I made a video on y'all, and I was like, man, I'm glad I'm here early. And now I look at it and it's like, there are just so many people and it's so active in there. So tell people how they can get involved.
Oh yeah, definitely join our Discord. It's a Discord/like a Syn City. And you can see it's a very active community, like you said. And being a community is super important because that's the foundation for the DAO. We initially saw over, if you remember, 130 different like sub DAOs created already, and then there got to be some M&A to happen and merge it to 30 something, and with a lot of people in there. I think that's great, and we would do more community events. We saw like we announced ARG3 as well as coming up. I think that's super exciting now with a token featuring and more details to be announced. I think it'll be a lot of exciting mechanics. We have a lot of partners coming in as well. So becoming the center of the mafia of the whole cryptoverse. That's our goal, right? And so we partner with all the people we can, and there'll be a lot of a top line kind of a collaboration on the well-known figures and brands. You know, more to announce later, but you can see in the progress, everything we've been teasing is becoming true, right?
Absolutely.
There's no reason we announce a partnership or there is a thing on a partnership, but cannot close it or deliver or becoming materialized, because otherwise it does not make any sense. If we kick off the...
Go ahead.
Go on. Yeah, if we have any... Look, if we have any indication on the Twitter of doing something, we deliver it.
Yeah.
So that's, I cannot say too much because we have marketing cadence, but if you pay attention to whatever we say on Twitter, that's something we're gonna do.
Yeah, I've noticed y'all are super transparent and y'all do deliver. And where else do you see Kylie Jenner tweeting about freaking crypto gaming metaverse project? I mean, that's just like, I could imagine. So you're like, we have some big partners on the way. I'm like, I could probably imagine if there's that many eyes on it. So no.
So I think it's congrats to her first, like being the biggest influencer in the world.
Yeah, right.
That's just amazing. She has the followers over 360,000 people, 360 million people right now.
Yeah,
I think it's
not 1,000.
I'm getting used to the 1,000. She's in millions, and she's like now that she has followers more than the whole population of the United States. That's just nuts. It's like you know, I mean, it's great that she paid attention to Syn City, and hopefully there's something more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna get out of here, guys. I've really enjoyed just getting more information out there about the game with Roy chopping it up, because there's no better information than the creators and the co-founder himself. So Roy, thank you so much for joining me today. For real, I really appreciate it and I enjoyed it. I learned something, which I think if I'm learning stuff here today, that, you know, the community and the audience is. So thank you for coming on. We're going to get out of here, guys. Till tomorrow's edition of In the Game, we'll dig in deeper into the markets like we were today. As always, play well, my friends.